Hello everyone, I hope we're all well. So in today's video we're going to be doing our figure of 8 motion, working out how to pick up a bit of speed on that without compromising our posture. So I'm sure you've all seen at one point or another people throwing their shoulders and body everywhere, and it just looks horrible, it's unnecessary, and no one wants to see it. So instead we're going to work on our technique and a couple of little pointers that I have to hopefully keep your posture whilst spinning your staff nice and fast. So the reason I'm holding 2 bow staffs as well is because I swear like the whole of Britain is driving on my road today. It's because I'm trained in traditional bow staff and I'm self-teaching XMA style bow staff, but these drills are very much applicable to both and will help you out. So if you have any comments or questions, please leave those below or message me on Instagram or something and I'm happy to help you out. Other than that, let's get into it. So we'll quickly just discuss what this spin is. So in a traditional sense, you'll have your hand in the middle of the staff. In XMA, you might have it a bit higher, just because you'll be passing the staff on. But middle of the staff or slightly higher, and you're going from one side, turning your wrist up, and then down through the middle, turning the wrist up. So it's almost like you've got 4 points, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, up like that. And eventually, you're gonna minimize that motion. So instead of going round like this, and using your whole body, we're going to minimize it so it's just all in front of you like that. So to start us off, so often when we first learn both our figure of 8 motion, our instructor gets us to really emphasize this, okay, just so we understand what direction we're going in and how we're doing it, which is completely valid. But as we get more experienced, it's our objective to minimize that space rather than going right out here and right out there, to minimize that next to us, okay? So a really important drill that I think is great for this is by working on your wrist mobility. So you're going to get your wrist and grab it like this, and you're going to do that wrist motion without relying on your shoulder and your elbow so much. So just here, and you're going to go round like that. So you see my elbow move slightly, but I'm mainly relying on my wrist. So you can do this really, really slow and go right round the joint and then speed it up slightly. But I really want you to go as wide as you can when you're doing that. Really pull this back and push that forward when you're doing the motion. But over time, you'll find that this massively helps your wrist mobility, so you're able to do this a lot more fluidly with the staff. So for the next exercise, what we're going to do is have our staff out in front, and we're going to almost fully extend our arm, okay? And this is a difficult one for people who haven't got that wrist mobility yet, but it's going to help you work on that. So what we're going to do is rely on our wrist to do the motion rather than using our shoulder and elbow, okay? And I know obviously naturally you wouldn't go to have this fully extended and do that, but this is going to make your wrist have to maximize that mobility in order to complete the motion. So you might start off just doing this, and that's fine because it's a work in progress, but over time you'll find that your wrist is then able to do it a bit more fluidly with the arm almost straight. So when it comes to doing it here, your wrist is so much more flexible that you can rely on the wrist flexibility more so than moving your shoulders everywhere. So the next exercise we're going to do that's really going to help is where to put the pressure on the staff. What I mean by this is that so often you see people moving their shoulder and their elbow to get the staff round, which then impacts their whole body's posture. So what we're going to do is focus on our fingers. So when I'm going downwards, I'm putting pressure in between these two, I'm putting these together. So I'll be pushing this finger in and this thumb will be flicking back the other way, and then obviously I've got my wrist turning downwards into that motion. So like this, and then when I come back, my thumb is going to be going against the staff, and then my whole index finger and this side of my hand is also forcing down. So I'm not just relying on my elbow and shoulder to do this, but instead I'm using that power between the two. And when you do that, your shoulders aren't moving around so much because you're not relying on those to get the staff round, and you've got a lot more power and better posture. So the next thing we're going to talk about is grip onto the staff. So for different styles, obviously different things apply, so obviously you have to consider that. But if I grip the staff too hard in a complete clenched fist, and then I'm spinning it like this, my range of motion isn't so wide. So what I've got to do is still keep all of my fingers on the staff, but slightly relax these 3 fingers here. So I'm keeping really solid grip on the thumb and index finger, but the next 3 fingers, I don't need to focus so much on, okay? And you'll find that you'll be able to spin the staff a lot more fluidly instead of having that really rock solid grip which limits your range of motion. Instead, a bit more relaxed, keeping your shoulders straight, and that should help you out. So now we're going to do the figure of 8 spin, but think about all those things we talked about. So firstly, are my shoulders and hips and elbow not moving around? Am I keeping those forward? Obviously with our elbow we can move that slightly, but I'm not going to let it dictate my whole body. Then I'm going to think about the pressure between these two, where I'm putting that on at the appropriate times, and also the grip that I've got. So these 3 fingers are on the staff, but they're not absolutely clenched, whereas these 2 I'm putting a lot of pressure on. Also with our wrists, rather than letting our elbow do all the work, we're going to be working on really widening the range of motion with that. So then you'll find that you get a lot more of a fluid spin. So all of these things considered, and then we're going to give the spin a go. And hopefully you should notice a bit of speed. But as I said, with a lot of this, it's very much about time and consistency of training. So if you consistently practice these different wrist motions, then your wrist flexibility is going to get better, your mobility is going to improve, which means that you're going to be able to do this a lot quicker. So really work at that and you'll see a massive difference. That is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any comments, leave them below. Also follow all of my social media, give this a like, subscribe and all of that stuff. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.